go to Wayne Madsen, author, researcher, WayneMadsenReport.com. He's got a new book out on Obama that's excellent there on the site. He is a Washington, D.C. based investigative journalist, author, syndicated columnist. He's written for The Village Voice, The Progressive, Counterpunch, Online Journal, and more. His columns appear in the Miami Herald, Houston Chronicle, Philadelphia Inquirer, amongst others. He's been on all the major TV, reports on national security issues. I wanted to get his take briefly today, too, on the fact that NSA suddenly is like, okay, we spy on you in real time, no warrants. You're all being spied on. It's totally illegal. We just do it. Sit down, shut up. By the way, there was a drill running, of course, the exact stuff happening in Denver. You know, at the same university he attended, a movie theater being attacked and a guy using bombs to divert people as he shoots them. Wow. Wayne Madsen, again, formerly in submarine warfare, then was in the National Security Agency, worked for a lot of big telecommunication corporations as well. He joins us right now. He's a member of the Society of Professional Journalists and the National Press Club. Wayne, I don't know your view on this whole thing. But I've got a sneaking suspicion because I know you're always out there investigating the same info I am. Wayne Madsen, what do you say about what's happened in Denver?
Okay, let's take a look at Mr. Holmes, where he was back in May. He was on one of 6 individuals who received a National Institutes of Health grant for neuroscience training at the University of Colorado at the Anschutz Medical Campus. That used to be the Fitzsimmons Army Medical Center before the Base Realignment and Closure Commission had it privatized. And in May, Mr. Holmes presented a paper at the university, at the medical school, and get the name. It was on micro-DNA biomarkers in a class titled Biological Basis of Psychiatric and Neurological Disorders. That's kind of strange, since we're now told that, you know, this guy's a crazed lunatic. But it gets even more interesting. He did a summer internship at the Salk Institute, which is part of the University of California at San Diego and La Jolla. And the Salk Institute, I mean, they've done great things. I mean, Jonas Salk, the pioneer on the anti-polio vaccine.
Yeah, with 11 cancer viruses.
They also, the Salk Institute, back about the same time frame, was involved in research to create basically peak soldiers for the battlefield, where they were investigating sleep deprivation, getting soldiers to stay up, not get tired, and they were using something that actually comes from cocoa, a flavanol that was this project was conducted with the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, DARPA, and the Salk Institute, and the Mars company that makes Snickers and Milky Way bars. Okay, so you know, this is just another example of some weird science being conducted.
Well, they're looking to put regular additives in things, tweak them slightly, and manipulate the public. Yeah. They now admit that all these DARPA programs are looking at manipulating and creating super soldiers. They're testing it on them. We've seen that happen with Delta Force, and they kill their whole families. Remember that event 5-6 years ago at Fort Bragg, where 4 groups came back and killed their whole families. Well, one guy didn't. He beat the program, but the police said he was flopping around and yelling when they pulled up in front of the burning house. Exactly what this guy's doing. He now looks all drugged up. Please continue. Well,
it's interesting. I found a quote from Terence Sejnowski, who's with the Salk Institute for Biological Studies and the director of the Computational Neurobiology Laboratory. And he commented that a lot has changed in their study of the brain. And he says, since the early 80s, we now know a lot more about the brain. And then he added this, perhaps more than we need to know. Now, that's a pretty strange comment. That's sort of like the guy where they were running the drill, the training drill in Douglas County near Aurora, who said, yeah, this is a very strange coincidence. We happen to be running a drill on a shooter shooting people in a movie theater at the same time the actual event was taking place.
And throwing smoke bombs.
Yeah, so, you know, so I'm looking at this like I looked at the Jared Loughner case, who killed federal Judge Roll, and disabled Congresswoman Gabrielle Giffords. I mean, I was told by people in Arizona who worked with the FBI that he was an MKUltra product, and I am firmly convinced that Mr. Holmes, James Holmes, was also involved in some experiment. Now, was he involved willingly or unwillingly? Isn't it funny? The Anschutz medical campus will not release any records of his time at that medical school, nor will other universities he was associated with in the past release any information.
Well, we know what they do now. The cutting edge is what they call vaccines, but they're really live viruses that are really nanotech. They're programmed to go in and eat certain ganglia in the brain in certain nerve centers. And the reason they know where to attack is that it has to be ganglia absorbing a certain chemical or endorphin or hormone. So they go where those are available and destroy them. Then drugs can be added to manipulate the interfaces. It's very sophisticated, but I've read the papers on it. And that's what they're moving to in pharmacological crops, to basically, without people understanding it, phasing it in where the general public just incrementally are turned into biological androids.
Right. It's also interesting that Holmes's father, Dr. Robert Holmes, worked with a company that was a partner of DARPA, Defense Advanced Research Project Agency. Now, this DARPA outfit does a lot of this weird science, okay? They spend all this taxpayer money on
research.
Futuristic research. It's actually, I've been told by people in the Pentagon, it's a huge washing machine where they launder intelligence agency money through DARPA to come up with a lot of strange things that Congress would never, in its right mind, approve of on a line item budget thing.
What do you make of the timing? We're obviously going to have to hold you a little bit in the next hour, so move Joel Gilbert. He'll be all right, because I want to get to these calls from people in Colorado for you, folks. Stay there. We want to hear from you. 800-259-9231. What do you make of the timing? Obama says in the next 2 weeks he's going to sign the UN treaty. They need just a few votes in the Senate. Didn't have them. This push for restricting guns. What do you make of the timing of this?
Well, sure took a lot of other stories off the front pages, that's for sure, including all the investigation of Mr. Romney's money offshore with Bain Capital. He's got to be really happy about this. Because
that was really starting to hurt him, the whole Bain Capital thing, and he wouldn't stand up for himself and stuff. Yeah, that's interesting.
Absolutely. Also, Dr. Robert Holmes, father of James Holmes, the company he worked for was called HNC Software. It was in San Diego, and they merged later with a company called FICO. Now, they say he now works at FICO, which does a lot of predictive programming for people and for the credit industry, to make sure that people who are using credit cards, it's actually them. But they use neural networking to do this. So he was involved in a lot of this neural networking research himself, and so was that company. And they had contracts with DARPA.
You know what else is funny? I want you to get to that, but I want your take on this. I'm sure you'll know this. Most people don't. Theodore Kaczynski volunteered for the MKUltra program. We didn't find out till a lot later when they declassified some of that, but he was a volunteer. So you volunteer, but you don't know what you're volunteering for. And, of course, he was the Unabomber.
Well, sure. And you look at the whole history of MKUltra, what do you find? You find Timothy Leary, who promoted the use of LSD, was part of that, as was J.D. Salinger, the author of Catcher in the Rye. And remember how many presidential assassins where they would go into their apartment and they'd find they only had a couple of books, but one of them was always Catcher in the Rye? This was the case with David Chapman, killed John Lennon. It was the case with Arthur Bremer, who shot George Wallace. It was the case with a lot of these presidential assassins. So I think they also found a copy in Timothy McVeigh's place. So has Batman replaced, nobody's reading anymore. They're going to movies. So has Batman replaced Catcher in the Rye as the triggering mechanism?
Yeah, and to explain that, I made a video a month ago saying this film has triggers in it for violence because I could just watch it and see that. It's just incredible that these films are just backdrops for brainwashing. I want to go back to some calls now, and I want to get deeper into your views on this and then the big NSA scandal that's coming out. But we're going to go to Julian and Greg in a moment. But Joe in Colorado, you were on earlier, but we had to go to break, so I held you over. You're a veteran. You're there in the area. You're saying you're not buying it. What do you make of what Wayne Madsen's been saying? And then go ahead and make your other point.
Yeah, it leads all back. You just follow, who's involved, and, you go deeper into it than what the media is telling you, and you're always going to find, some things that you need to ask more questions about. So I agree with them on that. About the culture, like I said, in the military, we would see a lot of things, and guys would giggle and think it's funny, and I was the one that was kind of thinking, what's going on? That's kind of the reason why I got out, and, that's what's going on with society. They think the things is funny, and it's just kind of sad, man, but, the people that are waking up, they're going to do what's right. And, I just pray for everybody because things is about to get out of hand,
God bless you, sir. I appreciate your fine points. Yeah, that's what I took away from watching Batman last night is I don't think of myself as some really smart hotshot. And I talk to adults and people, and they're like children. And I guess it's television. Wayne, do you get the point I'm making about more and more, either people are awake or they're getting more and more dumbed down, where they're like children and they have this Pavlovian preconditioned response to just giggle about everything?
Yeah, and you have to wonder about predictive programming techniques in Hollywood. I would note that on August the 10th, we're going to see the premiere of the new Born Legacy movie, the newest in the series by Robert Ludlum. And although it's like a super version of Jason Bourne, Treadstone was actually it's fictitious, a CIA assassination program. But Treadstone is absolutely MKUltra. If anyone has seen the Bourne movies, you'll know that. And Ludlum,
it's incredibly accurate from what's declassified. They really did that.
That's right. I also note that James Holmes is the grandson of Lieutenant Colonel Robert Holmes, who was one of the first graduates at the Army Language School, now the Defense Language Institute in Monterey, California, one of the first graduates in the Turkish language there in about 1948. So we now have a link between Holmes and at least his grandfather, because once you graduate from that school in one of those languages, you're obviously going to go work under official cover for the CIA or the Defense Intelligence Agency. In this case, it would have been Turkey. So there's a link there. The other thing I would note, it's very strange, is the car that Holmes drove to the theater and had Tennessee plates. Now, what is the link to Tennessee? We're told he was from San Diego. He went to University of California at Riverside. What's the link to Tennessee? I haven't seen anything more on that. That's
and the witnesses are saying multiple shooters. Stay there, Wayne. Great points. A lot of other points on this. Sick of the globalist eugenicist control freaks adding poison to your water and laughing as you get sick and die? Start purifying your water with ProPure. My friends, I've done a lot of research, and the best gravity filter out there, bar none, is ProPure, and it's available discounted at Infowars.com. Its filters are silver impregnated to prevent bacterial growth. There's no priming required. It's NSF 42 certified. Optional fluoride filters can reduce fluoride up to 95%. Easy to set up and use. Doesn't require electricity. Purify water from lakes, streams, ponds, and wells. This filter system leaves in beneficial minerals, which is key. Save money by not buying bottled water and avoid BPA that leaches from the plastic. ProPure is the best gravity-fed filter out there. It's what my family uses. Infowars.com already has the lowest price on ProPure. But if you add the promo code WATER at checkout, you get an additional 10% off at Infowars.com. You can also call to order 888-253-3139. Democratic operatives urged Obama to seize on attacks. Paul Watson has the big report out with all the different video clips and their own internal documents and public statements about using terror attacks to take our liberties, including mass shootings, and how great mass shootings are for Obama. The whole article is there, right there. And I hope that everybody goes there and watches the different video clips where they talk about it and say it. In fact, I'm going to get him to add the part about Oklahoma City. I mean, he's got it in there, but even Glenn Beck saying they're getting ready to stage it and blame it on us. Because they say that. Boy, we're going to have an Oklahoma, we're going to blame it on them. They don't say they're going to do it. They say we're going to have one, we're going to blame it on them. Like saying that bank's going to get robbed next week. We're going to blame it on this guy. Who's the first person you go to? Hey, you said that bank was going to get robbed. It got robbed. Why don't you get up against the car? We're putting handcuffs on you. Instead, it's like, oh, yeah, so Wayne Madsen. You pointed at Romney, though, saying it's got a lot of stuff out of the news. I mean, Romney's not in control of the Justice Department and stuff that ran fast and furious. I mean, isn't this their M.O., Holder and people from Oklahoma City?
Well, yeah, you know, I mean, this whole Fast and Furious thing, you know, which I still also think was to destabilize Mexico, to get this guy, this New World Order guy, the new president installed down there. It looks like they stole that election. The two opposition parties anywhere claiming it happened. And yeah, I mean, there's a lot of cheap political shots being made right now. I don't often listen to Sirius Radio, but I was listening to Tom Hartman's program yesterday where he brought your name up. He started talking about the right wing fringe that wants guns and mentioned you in particular and debunked all these conspiracy notions about Colorado, and I think he mentioned you in the same sentence with David Koresh. It's amazing. He's got a program on RT. I don't know what happened to that network, but he's clearly funded by the Center for American Progress, which is the George Soros finance think tank that basically acts as a policy toadies for the White House.
Well, there you go. There you go. Think Progress is run by Soros in the White House. It's on record. They have meetings weekly there. And they basically called for us to be shut down last week. And now you tune into the radio, and Hartman, who used to be an okay guy, you know, I used to get him on the show. I've been on the show before, and he just viciously attacks me now and starts making stuff up. And it's really creepy to see somebody totally join the dark side. Because you can be a liberal or a conservative, and you know, I can disagree with you about something, but when you get, so basically, just to get this right, because I'm going to go find it and do a story on it, because this is a big deal. They're trying to blame Rush Limbaugh, too, for this. And again, folks, even if you don't like Rush Limbaugh, if they can demonize the First Amendment and talk show host, they can have a chilling effect and go after us all. That was on MSNBC. You're telling me, it was also on NBC, national TV, you're telling me that he was saying that basically this culture of guns, Alex Jones, implying somehow, you know, that we're causing the culture, or am I wrong there? And then implying I'm a cult leader like David Koresh?
Yeah, and you know, and pulling us, you know, out of making us out of whole cloth about the conspiracy kooks out, you know, taking advantage of this incident to, you know, try to put out a lot of various conspiracy theories. I mean, he loves to use that term because, remember, this term became a vogue term after the Kennedy assassination in '63, when people said, we're not going to buy this this ludicrous notion that this guy was a lone gunman, and it's been used as a pejorative term ever since.
All right, stay there. We got to go to break, but I'm going to go to Julian and then Greg from Colorado. I promise, straight ahead. This is just, I was about to go to you and he hit me with that news.
Everything we said came true. Everything we've done's been right.
Wayne Madsen, investigative journalist, joins us right now. I'm going to get his take on exactly what Tom Hartman over on XM and syndicated radio was saying about me, that I'm David Koresh and all this stuff. I guess I need to be burned up with my family. Is that what happens to heretics like me that don't trust known lying government? Okay, pray for us, folks, because the White House, through its operatives, are now attacking us. I'm seeing reports every day without looking. And it's really getting bad. And they're saying stuff like shut me down, shut me up, which then they usually carry out. So, and I've really been feeling creeped out lately. But that's just the way it is. It's victims of our success here, which is the road I walk. It's what I asked for. Julian in Colorado, you're on the air with Wayne Madsen. Thanks for holding. What's your take on all this?
I just think it's just another distraction for Obama to kind of regroup and try and make enough of an effort towards bringing everyone back to his side before the election comes up.
No doubt that it's a distraction from them gearing up to have war with Iran and Syria. That's huge news. Where are you in Colorado?
I'm actually, I work in Commerce City, which is just pretty much due north of Aurora, actually.
What are your friends and family saying? What's your take on this? I mean, I know your take. What's their take?
Yeah, well, my friends and family just pretty much have been following the media and really just believe that he's just a crazy maniac that just went off the deep end, I guess. But I mean, I personally think it's a little funny because Friday I came into work around 8 o'clock and I didn't know any about the news until I was off on my lunch hour. And right when I was pulling up, I saw 3 Black Hawk helicopters heading due north from the Aurora area over where I work in Commerce City.
Well, probably Miller time after a good mission completed. Thank you for the call. Let's talk to Greg real quick. We're going back to Wayne Madsen. Greg in Colorado, you got any questions or comments?
Yeah, thanks. I got some comments. I've seen so many documents over the last few days from Homeland Security and different fusion centers. I saw one. This was literally hours after the shooting from New Jersey, the New Jersey Fusion Center assessment of the mass shooting, and now they're warning of security agents to watch out for people filming, photographing, or videotaping facilities and security posts.
Yeah, they're using this as the fear to roll out, just like the underwear bomber was to roll out the scanners. This is to roll out the on-the-street checkpoints. Great point, Wayne Madsen.
Yeah, you know, the other thing that I thought was rather interesting was the fact that Holmes's father, the research he was involved with was called cortronic neural networking, which would allow machines to interpret oral and visual stimuli to think like humans. Now, the Anschutz medical campus, where the Joker was, supposedly the Joker, if that's who it was, and you know, this thing gets more bizarre by the day. They when that was Fitzsimmons Army Medical Center, they pioneered in the research of chips for prosthetic devices for troops that lost limbs on the battlefield. So there is a legacy of this type of research.
Exactly. Stay there, Greg. I want to hear more about. Obviously, you work in some security function, but getting these internal alerts. We see a lot of the public ones. They had said that the theater in Colorado would be attacked the month before, and the FBI pulled that warning the day after the attack last Friday. But I'm holding Wayne Madsen over because he was formerly with the National Security Agency. He's written for the Miami Herald, you name it. He's there on Capitol Hill. And he's concurring that this has MKULTRA mind control written all over it. Multiple shooters, multiple smoke bombs from different angles. The mother saying she didn't say he did it. They just called him and said, "Is this your son?" She said, "Yeah." Click, and then they wouldn't talk to her. I mean, the whole thing has the scripting. The police chief, day one, saying, "Don't listen to conspiracy theories." All of this, the timing, the UN treaty, all of it. But we just had a caller in the last segment who got cut off by the break. So I want to go back to, which caller was it, John? So now there's more callers from Colorado. Yeah, it's Greg. That's what I thought. Greg was saying he got these Homeland Security Threat Fusion Center warnings. And again, a lot of these are not public, but they're not classified. Send them to whistleblowers at Infowars.com. We got the MIAC, Homeland Security reports over the years. We publish these where they say veterans are the enemy, the founding fathers are trash, gun owners are evil, America's bad, basically. The TSA is running promos the last year. They will be in shopping malls, movie theaters. I mean, this is the rollout. And so we told you it's coming. And he was saying that, indeed, they're saying, brace, brace. And all over the country, there's hysteria. They're arresting people at movie theaters that just argue. If somebody goes out the back exit, even near the end of the movie, they call the police. The theater is flushed out. Kind of like if one person goes through security without being checked at the airport. Everything's shut down and panicking and fear. But 60,000 dead on the U.S.-Mexico border the last 5 years. Nobody cares. You know, hundreds of heads being dropped off every year in South Texas and Arizona. Nobody cares. I mean, this is just ridiculous. This is the new hype in the make-believe that men in black uniforms are coming to get you. So you got to give your rights up to men in black uniforms. But Corey, I guess or Greg, I got another Corey there from Colorado. I guess you work in security to be getting these. I mean, just to recap, you were saying within a matter of hours, you were getting all of these messages coming in from different threat fusion centers. So what area do you work in without being too specific?
Well, I have a friend that's in intelligence, and he passes information over to me. And I have two documents, actually. One's from New Jersey, from the New Jersey Regional Operations Intelligence Center. And you're right, this is literally hours after the shooting. It has a description of James Egan Holmes, his birth date, his age, warning people now that there could be more shootings in casinos, at malls, shopping centers, sports and entertainment venues, schools, including...
Which, by the way, I've said hundreds of times, and we've got to have listeners pull up the videos and audio. I've said the next thing will be at shopping malls and all this to roll out the TSA, and the TSA in the last 3 months has been getting their teams ready in all 50 states, and I said magically this is going to happen. Isn't this unbelievable?
Here's another, this is from the document. The greatest threat facing security officials today is that of lone offender or homegrown violent extremists. So this is why they want to keep this lone gunman story going. And here's another document I found, Alex. This is literally from Homeland Security within hours after this event took place. And the document's performance venues indicator of violence and prospective measures. And again, this document talks about now watching for suspicious reporting, people at TSA checkpoints, talking about, again, malls and shopping centers.
No, that's what they're saying is if you argue or videotape, you're a terrorist anywhere. So the First Amendment's terror, and this is the new rollout. Do me a favor. I'm going to put you on hold. I'm going to give you one of our secret bat emails. Will you send that over right now?
Yes. Can I mention a few more things? I saw Batman last night, and I did research on Christopher Nolan. He's probably one of my favorite directors. And so many of his films, I have a suspicious feeling that he's awake to certain things. Last night in Batman, they talk about training exercises during the scene where they take down the football games, correct? Well, what happened here with the shooting in Colorado? There were training exercises. There's a lot of indicators. And one more thing, Wayne, I followed your work. You talked about Howard Hughes and the Mormon Mafia connections tying into Mitt Romney. Well, Christopher Nolan has a film coming out, I believe in the next year or the year after that, about Howard Hughes and his connections to the Mormon Mafia and his eventual death. And one more thing, it's no coincidence, but this weekend here in Aspen, I'm about 10 miles from Aspen, we have the Aspen Security Forum taking place. And the who's who of government intelligence. Oh,
yeah, the NRA was meeting in Denver during Columbine. I mean, they did that there to demonize them. It's so obvious. Thank you so much. We've got to move because we've only got 5-6 minutes left with Wayne Madsen and WayneMadsenReport.com. But, I mean, Wayne, how many times did we talk about the new rollout is going to be attacks in shopping malls and movie theaters because they were scripting it, and now we've confirmed the TSA is deploying into all 50 states, rolling out. My goodness, could they trigger a whole line of sleeper agents?
Well, there's some countries overseas where if you go into a shopping mall or a restaurant, you've got to go through a metal detector. And there's a report that Michael Chertoff was in Denver just shortly before this attack.
He was there.
So here we have Mr. Rapiscan, Mr. Pervert, body scan out there right before this happened. Sort of like when Rudy Giuliani happened to be in London with Benjamin Netanyahu during the London transit bombings, and there was a drill going on there as well.
The exact targets hit at the exact time at the exact locations. We did the math. It was from an actuary with a insurance company. Just the basic computer breakdown was something like 1 out of 23 trectagillion. And
right. Yeah, figure the odds. You know, and the other thing I find interesting is this Cortronic neural networking, this man-machine interface. A lot of that work was pioneered by the RAND Corporation. Now, they're a well-known intelligence operation doing all kinds of wacky research. And
well, they're the master planner group.
Well, that's right. And, you know, even Stanley Kubrick made fun of them in the movie Dr. Strangelove when he referred to them as the Bland Corporation. So they've had a long history of coming up with really crazy R&D projects. So their fingerprints are all over this man-machine interface, Cortronic cognitive neurology research as well. Unbelievable.
Listen, I want to, because you brought this up before the last hour, and can you just recap what you heard Tom Hartman on a syndicated radio show saying about me? Because, I mean, you were moving quick. Are you saying he was implying somehow that my rhetoric is causing this stuff to happen?
Yeah, this is what you're hearing. It's like, oh, yeah, there'll be the conspiracy theorists, the kooks will now come out and say there's a plan to seize weapons. He mentioned your name, and then he said, you know, this is the fringe represented by people like David Koresh and the Branch Davidians. And, you know, it's not just Hartman, but you hear the same stuff from these other Obama bots like Bill Press and, you know, Ed Schultz and the rest of them. And it's quite clear that their only reason for existence is to, you know, basically grandstand for the administration. Otherwise, they wouldn't have these corporate jobs that they have if they were telling the truth. They don't have any room. And we see what happens with them when somebody's on MSNBC, they start telling the truth, they get fired immediately. You know, Phil Donahue, one case in point.
Yeah, sure. But I mean, it's just so sickening to be funded by George Soros. I mean, Think Progress that they work for is on record at White House front, run by top advisors of Obama. And I mean, if they're worried about Alex Jones, they've got bigger problems, I would imagine, out there. I mean, people know Obama's a crook. They know Holder's a crook. I mean, it's done. Yeah. And all you do is give us credibility when you attack us. We only got a minute or two left. I want to get you back up soon about this. What do you make of the NSA now in court admitting they're spying on all communications real time illegally?
Well, there were a lot of whistleblowers came to me before Obama started, you know, bringing charges against people that talk to the press. But I was told this years ago that NSA was doing vacuum cleaner sweeps of communications. Not for any sort of plausible or a criminal predicate, but just to surf the ether, trying to find what people are thinking, what their politics are, and put them obviously in databases that are labeled, you know, as threats. And this is what's going on. And they're building this huge facility in Utah where they're going to maintain all this data.
And you worked there. I mean, this is super, super creepy and totally illegal. And now Chertoff in Denver said we need the NSA to spy on everybody. That's the answer because of the shootings. Very disgusting.
Absolutely. And, you know, there's a long history of NSA using dupes like Robert Morris Jr. in '88 at Cornell, who released the Internet Worm program. His father was the chief scientist for NSA when that happened. And of course, now that kind of thing is used in cyber warfare strategy on a daily basis.
Well, it's just like our government with Israel released Stuxnet, and now they're using it as the excuse to try to take over the web and take our freedom on the web. It's ridiculous.
Absolutely. And, you know, again, there is no check and balance. The Congress is not doing its job at maintaining supervision over these wacky agencies.
Visit Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. When you're on the site, you can also tune in 24 hours a day to my daily radio broadcast. There's also a free iPhone app to listen to the syndicated radio show when and where you want.